There's a war raging across America right now, but not the kind you might expect. No tanks, no missiles, yet its casualties are mounting daily. And tonight we have exclusive footage from ground zero of this conflict that will leave you questioning everything that you've been told. What happened at one of America's most prestigious universities this week is just a tip of the iceberg. We've uncovered a pattern so disturbing, so methodically orchestrated that it will shake your faith in every institution that you once trusted. The evidence we're about to show you was nearly scrubbed from the internet, so watch it now before they try to hide it again. And just as our nation grapples with invisible forces tearing at its fabric, millions of Americans are silently battling their own daily war with chronic pain. But here's what the establishment doesn't want you to know: that impossible to solve pain might have a simple solution. A renowned doctor has discovered a breakthrough that works like a circuit breaker for pain signals. While they want you dependent on their system, this natural solution helps you break free. The truth about pain relief has been hidden long enough. Visit goldenrevive.com/NNN to discover what they've been hiding from you. Okay, now let's take a look into the depths of the internet. This is posted just 24 hours ago. Listen to why Drew Afualo believes all men are evil in an episode called Girls Gotta Eat. Wow.
As a whole is evil, like just as the inherent fact that men are evil, that is true. Like man as a whole is evil, like just as an entity, a general idea. Men have inflicted violence and oppression on the world in ways that are irreparable. Like it's okay if we say that out loud. It's okay if we say that men are inherently evil. It's like, it's not all men, but for some reason, always a man. Every time something terrible happens, always a man, like 99% of the time. So I feel like it's a lot simpler than people may think. I don't hate my man, I hate most men. And for me, I think given what men have done to me personally, to people I love, and the world as a whole, if they all start guilty and have to work their way to innocent, it's not really a big deal to me. I feel very like convicted in that. It's very like, if you're not awful, prove it. Yeah. Quit talking about it and fucking do it. Because the men who complain that they really hate hearing like, oh, what about all men? Oh, all men, all men. A lot of this, not a lot of action. The inherent fact that men are evil.
Well, one thing is true. That girl hasn't missed a meal. But did you see this? This was erected. A massive 12-foot plus size black woman statue in Times Square, supposedly inspired in part by Michelangelo's David, according to the Times Square website. I believe it was actually inspired by Letitia James. I mean, that's who it looks like, right? Clearly. I mean,
we have and communicate those inner worlds that we have, and sometimes we misinterpret with one another to try and create an understanding and basically encourage empathy.
Okay. No. Yeah, that statue is thick. Libertarian Christian posted this. Christians should not be tribal along any racial identity. We are citizens of heaven. There is no Jew nor Greek. Identity politics is antithetical to Christianity. And then Lily says, if blacks and Jews can be tribal, why can white people not be?
Because I agree with it.
Well, I think it's interesting to me that Lily Gaddis, you retweeted Nick Fuentes, the white supremacist, by saying he said black people just raised $500,000 for a cold-blooded killer who stabbed a white teenager to death. So I don't want to hear one word about the Shiloh Hendricks fundraiser. Either everyone gets to be tribal or nobody does. Why would you retweet that?
Because I agree with it. Because we have to fight fire with fire. I mean, at some point, why are
nobody does?
Why are Jewish people allowed to be tribal? Why are black people allowed to be tribal? But as white people stand up for themselves, we're labeled a racist. And by the way, you call people racist when you want them to stop talking about things.
No, I called you a racist because you admitted you were racist. Hang on. I called, just to be clear, I called you a racist because you openly, proudly admitted you're a racist. So it wasn't a question of exposing you or pointing my finger or trying to get this out of you. You proudly sat there, bold as brass, and said, yeah, I use the N-word all the time against black people. I'm a racist and I'm proud of it. That's what you did.
Racism is just having a preference. I prefer not to live around black people. I prefer not to live in a country where white people in our country are disproportionately attacked by black people. Where in my country, you can have an Austin Metcalf where he asks a guy to leave and he gets stabbed in the heart. I prefer that. That's a preference. Now, what a real racist is, in my opinion, is seeing someone as less human. I'm a Christian. I believe everyone's created in God's image. So I don't see anyone less human. But that doesn't mean I'm not allowed to have a preference and say, I don't like what happens to be coming out of this community or that community. How is that a bad thing? How is that not just a preference?
Because you've literally made black people sound lesser humans. You don't want to live around them. You want to use the N-word in relation to them, a word that you know causes that community unbelievable offense. Is that my
fault? Is that my fault? If they have bad behavior, if they want to act in a certain way, if I have to cross the street and be afraid that maybe because of the crime statistics that are very real, by the way, is that my fault or is that their fault for having bad behavior?
That's mind-boggling to me for multiple reasons.
Well, I think it's interesting to me that Lily Gaddis, you retweeted Nick Fuentes, the white supremacist.
Moving right along, Tim Walz is living in an alternative universe, but so are Democrats who make identity politics their primary pitch to voters. Let's check in there.
Rob, I really like the funny tone you guys at the Daily Signal took this story about Tim Walz. Last week, for those of you who missed it, Tim Walz insisted the reason why he was chosen as Kamala Harris's running mate was because he really connects with white guys. White guys across the country can really relate to him, and they just can't relate to anyone else. Rob, all kidding aside, I am tired of this Nuremberg laws level of racial obsession by the news media, most of the news media, and the Democratic Party. I'm sorry, as a white man, I guess I'm two or more ethnicities when I have to check that box. I can relate to a lot of people I don't really need a guy who sort of looks like me in Tim Walz. But I'm glad you made fun of it. But I mean, does he really believe that? Does he really not realize that he was chosen because he's not Jewish and Josh Shapiro would have angered the anti-Semites in the Democrat Party?
Well, first of all, to your point about Josh Shapiro, I think Josh Shapiro probably would have made it a much more competitive race had he been the nominee for vice president. But then there's also the speculation that they didn't want to necessarily drag down Josh Shapiro for a future run for president, given that many people felt that Kamala Harris was such a weak candidate to begin with. I think in her selection of Tim Walz, it's anyone's guess as to why she ultimately went with him. But I think this notion that he's making it all about identity politics, again, shows that the Democrat Party, as you said, is obsessed with these issues. When you compared J.D. Vance and Tim Walz and you looked at the activities that they were doing and how they were talking to voters, there's no doubt in my mind that J.D. Vance had more appeal across all races, across all class lines, simply because J.D. Vance was more authentic. And that was the one thing about Tim Walz that stood out, and we pointed out in the Daily Signal column, that he lacked. He lacked any authenticity. You saw that when he went hunting. You saw that when he was trying to fix his car. I mean, you could just go down the list of things that he tried to do to appeal to white men. And I'll point out also the fact, Jake, that, remember Barack Obama tried to do this with black men, and he failed at it too. And so I think that the Democratic Party does this at their own pace, and I think voters are seeing through it.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's getting again, whether it's the mental illness or the racial obsessions of people all through the political spectrum. I just don't want to hear about it. I just don't want to hear about this being the first thing that you say about a person, whether a politician, a coworker, or a sports figure. Rob Louie, thanks so much for joining us. Have a great rest of your week.
The culture war continues, my friends. What is this? Democrats are the party of identity politics, hate, and vision. I'm tired of liberals dividing this country into little groups, setting them upon each other, breeding spite and envy, and then having the nerve to accuse conservatives of hatred. Alan West. And here's more. Some absolutely violent attacks. Clearly one-sided. These are things the media will never show you. And the Democrats continue to scream identity. Oh, here's Michelle Obama, Mr. Chicago, posting, one of the most appealing things about the Republican Party is that it's centered around the individual and individual rights. The message is for all and not a different one for each race. Can't stand the identity politics that Michelle Obama and others spew. Huh.
Are the men in our
Here's Michelle Obama.
We don't articulate as Black women our pain because it's almost like nobody ever gave us permission to do that.
And does anyone care?
Yeah, there's that.
Do they care?
If we knew, I think we would care. If we knew. If we knew.
Or, you know, yeah, and we have to ask ourselves, the men in our lives is, you know, why wait to be asked? You know, it seems like what we go through is pretty obvious. I mean, maybe we're not complaining, but we're actually living life out loud, you know? You know, we don't articulate as Black women our pain because it's almost like nobody.
Oh, but then we have this. Did you see this post? Ilhan Omar is a radicalized Marxist. The only thing she's focused on is identity politics, dividing people by skin, color, race, sex, gender, and religion, economic status, a typical communist tactic. I hope voters in Minnesota throw her out of Congress. Lily Tang Williams posting this. Listen.
Profile. I would say our country should be more fearful of white men across our country because they are actually causing most of the deaths within this country. We should be profiling, monitoring, and creating policies to fight the radicalization of white men. I would say.
And she's married to a white man. Here we have Lindy Li, a former Democrat fundraiser, discussing how Democrats engage in identity politics based on her personal experiences.
Politics, and it's point. This is why the Democratic Party is doomed. Hold on. Let me just say one thing. I'm so sick and tired of this identity politics, and it's just not just with the gays. It's also with every single race. I kid you not. I hosted Joe Biden on May 1st. It was supposed to be a normal event, okay? But because I was Asian, they thought it would be a good idea to make Lindy happy by bringing in a lion dance.
What?
I kid you not. There's video of this.
What's a lion dance?
It's something.
You can't just toss that out there. Not
lion dance. Is that like that? Now you can't keep up with us. She's like LGBA password code lion dance. What the heck is a lion dance?
It's something that Chinese people dance on Chinese New Year. And by the way, Chinese New Year is sometime in February. I don't know when, but my event was in May.
That's hilarious.
So there's actually
That's
not.
So funny.
There's not a good reason.
This is what I was imagining.
That's precisely it. And they had the drums, they had the dancers and the costumes, and my guest and I were we had our jaws on the floor.
That's amazing.
Because
so
I want to say
incredible.
something. This is not my culture, with all due respect. My culture is Britney Spears.
Oh, okay.
Okay, my culture
that's
is
also
how I grew
unfortunate,
up.
but it's okay.
But like they didn't ask.
Do you need a hug? I feel like you do.
I miss my Britney. I admit her.
I'm sorry. Please continue. This is insane, though.
But this is what I mean. Like it was supposed to. It was so insulting. Like, I'm not an American. I have to be a hyphenated American.
That's crazy.
And the thing is, first it was, they call me AAPI. They call me their AAPI donor, Asian American Pacific Islander. The next year they called me AANHPI.
Wow.
And I was like, what the hell is that? They're like, oh, it's Asian American Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander. And they didn't ask if I wanted to be labeled as their fundraising leader for that. I just want to be American. Why are you putting me in this
You're filling
bucket?
a quota.
That's precisely
You're filling
it.
a quota.
But I didn't ask to be, and I don't want to be. I grew up here. America's the only country I know. I think this is what.
Well, divide and conquer. It's very simple. They want to keep everyone fighting against each other while they rob America blind. Stephen A. Smith slamming the radical left. He's making a lot of noise lately. I like this guy.
To be purged. What are some of the things that Democrats have been doing that have turned you off and that make you say the party needs to be purged? Who needs to be purged from it? First of all, do you have any names?
Well,
Well, I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to do that to a lot of people. But we know who the extreme left is. We know how they go about operating. We know what we lean towards when it came to open borders. We know that the spending was excessive, even though it's excessive on the Republican side as well. I think a $37 trillion budget, when Republicans try to act like it's just the Democrats, that's not true. But the Democrats certainly shouldn't be absolved from blame in that regard. Certainly with identity politics, woke culture, cancer culture, I thought that was something that ravaged our nation psychologically, because you had people literally scared to lose their jobs if they pronounced the wrong pronoun, for crying out loud. It got that bad, and I think that's one of the reasons that Donald Trump is in office today, because so much stuff, a lot is focused on the individual as opposed to actual policies itself. I'm talking about what they preached and what they talked to the American people about, more so than what they're doing. The kind of messages that they were disseminating was incredibly uncomfortable to listen to and to hear, and I thought that it wasn't emblematic of what most Americans are thinking about. They're trying to pay their mortgages, rent, buy food and groceries, pay gas, and deal with the prices, the cost of living, and they want safety in the streets. That's primarily what most American citizens are about, trying to live in peace and harmony, and that's not something that I think either side has promoted along the way, and that's why I think the state of the nation is what it is at this particular moment in time.
Will the Democrat Party listen? That's the question. I mean, how many more elections are they going to lose? A lot. Here's from the Doge subcommittee. 80% of Americans agree men should not compete in women's sports. Stephanie Turner and Peyton McNabb have suffered major injuries due to intrusion of men in women's spaces. It's common sense. We must uphold President Trump's executive orders to protect women sports.
I told them that I was refusing defense because this person is a man and I am a woman and this is a women's tournament. His response was, okay, but there's a member of the board of directors here and he supports me, and there's a policy that says that I'm a woman and I'm allowed to compete in the women's tournament, and if you do this, you're going to get black carded. And I said, I know.
Okay, this is the civil rights issue of the hour, women's sports. That was fencing athlete Stephanie Turner describing what she said to her male opponent the moment she decided to take a knee and forfeit a tournament in Maryland last weekend because competing against a man is unfair and dangerous. Joining us now, the former volleyball player who was severely injured by a male opponent, Peyton McNabb is back with us. Peyton, it's great to see you again. What's your reaction to this story?
It's good to see you, Liz. I think Stephanie explained it very simply. She is a woman, and that is a woman's tournament. It really can be explained that simple, but the fact that women are they're the ones that are getting punished for standing up for men to be out of their own sport. It is absolutely ridiculous, but that is what bravery looks like. And unfortunately, that's exactly what we're going to have to keep doing in order for this to stop.
You know, Peyton, let's get your reaction to tennis legend Martina Navratilova ripping USA Fencing for punishing and disqualifying the female fencer, tweeting, quote, anyone here still thinks this is fair? I am fuming on USA Fencing. Shame on you for doing this. How dare you throw women under the gender BS bus? Your take on that?
I think she explained it. I couldn't have explained it better. That is exactly what they're doing. This gender ideology and this gender push is it's a war on women. It is a civil rights battle, and it is absolutely insane that they are punishing women and throwing them under the bus and lighting them on fire just to keep them else warm.
Peyton, can you tell a viewer what happened to you?
My senior year of high school, I was permanently injured by a transgender athlete, a man on the other side of the net who hit me so severely with the force of the volleyball, hit me directly in the face, and it knocked me out unconscious for about 30 seconds. And I have lifelong effects that I don't know if I'll ever be able to fully recover from. Thankfully, the good helped me a lot. It's been a little over 2 years this far. But I don't know if I'll ever be back the same. And it is so frustrating because it was 100% avoidable. But the adults in the room were not willing to stand up for me in my state at the time.
At the time, Peyton, we're so sorry you suffer those injuries. It's terrible. Peyton, do you think it's changing? Do you think that America is coming around to saying, yes, this is a women's civil rights issue?
Absolutely. I mean, we've seen it in the polls for I don't even know how long now. 80% of the country agrees on this. It's hard to get 80% of the country to agree on anything. So I definitely believe this is a movement. People are starting to wake up and refuse to comply, and I'm very happy to see it. States are making legislation that defines what a woman is and brings common sense back into our laws. And
So what you've just witnessed isn't just another news story. It's a warning of what's coming if we don't act now. The question isn't whether this orchestration will continue. It's whether enough Americans will wake up in time to stop it. Are we watching the last days of national unity or the beginning of a great awakening? Share your thoughts in the comments below, because this conversation is not over. It's only beginning. While forces try to divide us, show your commitment to unity with our Next News collection at the Next News shop. It's linked down below at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com.